Welcome to the Corner of the Roof. I would like to talk to you about some of the interesting nuances of the Hebrew language. To demonstrate this, we are going to work with a children's rhyme. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Most of us who grew up in the last 50 years have probably heard that. Probably even sang it as a kid. And we know what it means. We don't have to guess. We see kids out in the playground singing that, playing with each other. They're not going to have any issues. They're just singing a children's song. We as parents and watching that, we think it's cute. Imagine though if you're from 1,000 years ago from the Ming Dynasty in China and you show up on the shores of America and you walk into a playground but somehow you've learned the English language, completely technically, but then you start hearing kids singing eeny meeny miny mo, you're gonna be what's wrong with these kids? Or what are they smoking? It don't make sense. What is all this? And it's just going to be gibberish to people that didn't grow up here. It's going to be weird. It's going to be disconcerting and probably totally, completely misunderstood and misrepresented in some sort of translation. Because this person from the Ming Dynasty has to go back and explain what he saw. They were singing a gibberish and then talking about grabbing toes and making tigers pay. Very strange culture. Okay, great. So this happens all the time. Translation work is really hard. My wife's from another country and English is like her fifth language. But she's done some translation work for people, like in court cases, people from other countries, and she's listening to some guy give testimony, and she has to translate it in using all the colloquialisms of the language that she grew up with, and then trying to translate it into something that the judge and the jury and the lawyers and everybody can understand that's relevant. So she explains that this is not easy work, and that's probably why she was getting paid $100 an hour to do it. It wasn't all the time, once in a blue moon, but boy, she was sweating bullets whenever she was doing it, because you gotta figure out this stuff and it's not easy. So, for example, if someone says that they're angry in the other language and you're trying to figure out the nuance of what they really mean, you have to be able to translate it. Are they just angry? But probably, that would be sufficient. But when you're trying to be technically accurate, like when you're translating ancient text or the Bible, you really need to understand completely what it's saying. Because if someone, you read in Hebrew, it says angry, but what shade of angry? So say what it is with English. If you've ever been married, you'd probably have seen your spouse angry, and you ask, well, what's wrong? I'm angry. Well, what do you mean by angry? Well, I'm mad. Well, what kind of mad is she? Is she furious or enraged? What's making her furious? Is it because of high level of stress, or is she irritated because somebody used all the hot water in the shower yet again and didn't leave a clean towel in the bathroom? I never did that. Really, I haven't. So, is she skeptical because someone's telling her about this used car and she wants to buy it, and she's skeptical and angry at the guy for lying to her? I don't know. Just saying, anger has a lot of shades of meaning, but with English we can get a lot more exact by narrowing it down. Hebrew and Semitic languages are a lot more difficult than that. It doesn't work exactly like that. The reason why are Semitic languages use these triconsonantal roots, triliterals. In essence, pretty much every word is built on the building blocks of 2 or 3 or 4 ideas encompassed in the letters that they're used to write them. So you in Semitic languages, the letters were originally pictograms, or they're pictures. Aleph was the picture of a bullhead, with the horns and everything. So if you looked at Aleph, you saw the bullhead, you would, if you spoke that language, you would be able to understand the flavor of the letter. And then you saw the next letter, and then that would increase the complexity of the thought, and the third letter would increase the complexity of the thought. Then within those 3 letters, typically, again, it could be 2 or 4, you would be able to build a concept in your mind, not just from the phonetic speaking of it, you know what the word is, but also the concept built from the 3 letters. And I will demonstrate that here. So you've got, here's a prime example. Most people who are familiar with the Bible know that Abba means father in Aramaic and Hebrew. So Ab, A-B, like Abraham, or Abram, father, is the first 2 letters. Aleph, Bet. So if you're looking at that, you have the picture of the ox head, and you have a picture of a tent or a house. And so if you're looking at that, and you have lots and lots of ideas flood into your head, because Aleph can mean ox, it can mean strength, it can mean first, it can be one, it can mean the leader. Bet means house or family or inside or tent. So if you say Abba to somebody who's a father, like Abraham or Abram, or Jesus calling God Abba, then you have all of these combinations in play. So if you look at the pictogram, you notice that it leader of the family. Wow, that makes sense. The father in that culture, and supposed to be now, the father, the husband, is supposed to be the leader of the family. Or it could be strength of the house, because the way it worked back then, in their culture, the strength of the house, the patriarch, was literally how the whole family was identified. You were identified by who your father was. So with that in mind, let's look at this young man, Bill. He's 33 years old. He's trying to get a date on Tinder. Okay, so with this in mind, imagine, you're looking at Tinder, you're looking at your young lady, and you see this: I like curvy girls, I have a dog, her name is Precious, she's my world, my hobbies include midnight strolls, collecting insects, kinda nerdy, but that's what I'm into, making my own clothing and dancing when nobody's looking, dry skin is a deal breaker, I love Bath and Body Works for the sole reason that their lotion comes in a basket, I date me. Wow, if I was a young lady and I saw that, I'd be interested, because this guy sounds pretty cool. But in reality, he's probably not a guy you'd want to spend any time with, because he's actually Buffalo Bill from the Silence of the Lambs. Unless you are in the culture where this context is relevant, you would not know that was Buffalo Bill, the serial killer. So that's part of the problem we have right now with reading the Bible, or any ancient Semitic language for that matter, or any other language than the one you grew up with, for that matter. I mean, it's just, translation work is just hard because of these sorts of things. You have different kinds of idioms, you have different kinds of nuances, and then you take something like Buffalo Bill's Tinder profile, and if you don't understand American culture and you haven't seen Silence of the Lambs or heard about it, and you saw that, you wouldn't think anything of it. But because you are enlightened, in a sense, of what Buffalo Bill represents and who he was, you read that profile and you go, oh, no, I'm not going to go out with him. Nope, I don't want him wearing my birthday suit, thank you very much. So that's something that we need to consider. Going forward, we will be getting into these nuances, because when you start to look at how the Bible was written and you see the actual original words, for example, the word dabar, which is translated word or thought in ancient times, or ancient Hebrew, you see that it's also, it could mean honeybee, it could mean destruction, it could mean devastation, it could mean an awful lot of things all at the same time. And because it uses those three characters to make the root of all of those ideas, they are all interconnected. So in my next episode, we will get into that, and you will find an awful lot of things get connected, and how a lot of the symbols you see every day, like on the back of the $1 bill, relate back to ancient Babel. Until next time, may God bless you.